Yeah, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still full of impressions when I have been here 4 years ago to introduce Revyliucia to you. And I only have a couple of minutes now, but just to explain to you how we continued and what it means with this power of trials data, which I'm trying to explain to you. So back then, the introduction of Revyliucia was based on nothing less than over 5,000 trials all across Europe, which we did from 2013 to 2019 to allow the best product introduction to you. Since then, we did not stop. We did continue to do trials, and over time, because we developed new products like Revyflex and Daxo, you will soon in the market, so we added another 3,500 trials. You now may say, wait a moment, are you mad at BASF? A single trial costs 5,000 to 15,000 euro. That is a huge investment, and I can tell you, yes, it is challenged a lot, but we need to do it for two simple reasons. So the first group of the trials is pure development. So we need to check which is the right dose, right, to do the job, means to combat a target disease. Then how does it work in different weather patterns with different climate conditions? You have heard before, in the UK it's so much different than to Romania. And then we also need to know, was the disease present or is it coming later? So do we do preventive or curative? All that has to be answered. The formulation has to be fine-tuned, optimized. And once we have it, we need this big package of data we hand in for submission. And here you need to prove that the product works under all the different climatic zones. But that is the minority with 45%. The majority starts after successful submission to authorization. And here we test practical dose rates, our products in practical spray programs. For sure, here's a disease evolution, what starts in the UK and Ireland, but then comes to the continent, that needs to be constantly monitored. Our efficacy needs to be proven again and again, and for sure we need to include the most recent competitors. So a lot of reasons for doing these trials, and here just one example how the disease presence makes a difference in performance. That is published data. On the left-hand side, the application was made before the disease came in. We call it preventative. If you look on the black line, we see a nice reduction with a full dose rate, then the Revyliucia does a decent job. If you reduce, you're a bit lower. On your right-hand side, you see a similar curve. This is under curative condition, meaning the disease was already there, then you do the treatment. And you could see that the performance with Revyliucia is relatively similar, but the other compound, which did a quite good job on the preventative, is failing under curative control. And that is not an exception. We more or less can talk it's a rule, and that makes this azole chemistry so special because, yes, azoles can do this curative activity. And to understand that, for sure, it makes a difference when you read the trial data. And we have used now a technique to better identify what is what. And here, this we copied with pride from forensic science, which is a super technique to find the one who did a murder, for example. So you look for DNA. We can do the same with plants. So we look for the DNA of the causal pathogen. So thanks to the very specific DNA, we can tell by simply taking a plant sample, we can tell it's this disease or it's that disease, and even how much of the disease is there. And in the simplest way, we do a traffic light. So if there's a lot of peak, so a lot of disease, then that is progress infestation. If it's negligible, then we call it green. And if it's in between, that is the most dangerous one because this is often invisible. Especially Septoria has this long latent period where you don't see anything, and with this technique you can reveal what's up. We do it since quite some years, so we started here in 2017, the map here starts with 2018, and year after year we can now show and demonstrate and identify whether we have these preventative conditions, the green dots, or we have the curative conditions when we have orange and red dots. You easily see that there are more green dots in the eastern and southern parts of Europe, but if we look to Lithuania or to Latvia or Estonia, you quite have curative conditions. Not so well in 2023 probably, but usually you have. And with this data we can read out our trials much better. And we came up with this nice conclusion that you may not be surprised, Revysol has here a stronger curative performance than the other triazoles nowadays. That used to be different, but with this adaptation, they lost this power. But we also identified that Xemium has an extra in curativity. And you mix both together, as Steve has explained, then for sure you have a product that does quite well under such curative conditions. So that is one big identifier of trials being on the one or the other group. Another big argument why we do these continuous trials is the erosion of performance. And there's an interesting pattern which correlates with the IP, with the patent protection. If we take the oldest molecule, tebuconazole, its patent expired 2003. And only 2 years later, we could observe an efficacy drop in France, where this product was heavily used. Take epoxiconazole. The patent expired 2007. 2 years later, 2009, it started to erode. And the most recent example, prothioconazole, the patent expired 2019, and you see then a bit later there was a further erosion. So the unlimited use with patent expiration, there's a lot of generic offers leads to more or less a flooding of this chemistry to the market, and this makes the pathogens adapting quicker. We want to identify that, and just as we don't need a reminder, I guess this nice chart of Lise, I couldn't resist to bring it in. So Revysol does not follow this pattern. Yeah? Revysol works still very, very good, but for us it's important to understand when we interpret the data, what was the resistance situation. And here we work with a big institute in Germany, Epilogic. They do the investigation and make this classification. Little adapted, moderate adapted, or heavy adapted. And we could see a similar pattern. Ireland and UK, no surprise, is strongly adapted. But if you look more to the other part of Europe, we see a lot of adaptations also there. So whenever the next big disease pressure comes, I think you could see this erosion is continuing. It swapped from the west to the east. So we did all these trials, and I have to apologize because with point coloring, there is a lot of dots missing in Lithuania and Latvia. In total, you need to add mentally 150 dots extra here because we have here this unbelievable amount of, in total, 8,000 trials and 150 in the Baltics. When we now change crop to oilseed rape, can we use this information? No. We talk about a different crop canopy, a different disease target, different application timings. We even talk about different formulation, as we learned and experienced that what is good in cereals, bringing this uptake, is not good for oilseed rape. Here you need a surface coverage. You need a spray that is firmly on the leaf surface to prevent from sclerotinia. So clearly different. We started from scratch and up to now have done 1,600 and a bit more trials. You will hear more from my colleague Jacek afterwards. I think now it's time to check your expertise. So if you don't mind, then take your smartphone, scan this code, and join us for this little exercise. The game time, yes.
Game time, I'm here.
So I leave you the stage and come back then.
Or do you want to comment after each question, no?
No, in the end.
In the end, okay. Taigi, šiek tiek jau pristatė gerbiamas Dieteris, kad dabar jums paruošęs yra trumpą kvizą. Laikas svarbu. Turime 4 klausimus. Jums reikės atsakyti, kaip gerai pažįstate ligas. Čia anoniminė, bet jums reikia būtinai prisijungti. Aš skaičių, kiek jūsų jau prisijungę nematau. Žinau, kad jūsų čia koks 500 tikrai yra. Ir mes taip norime, štai matau, 224 jūsų prisijungia, norime kuo daugiau jūsų. Ir ar pavyksta nuo galinių eilių nuskanuoti kodą? Ką sakėt, ponė? Puikiai, atsakė ponas. Ar visi prisijungia? Garsiai sakykit, palauk. Nėra palauk. Mes norime, kad prisijungtumėte. Pasiekime 300 ir galėsime užduoti. Taigi labai viskas paprasta. Bus 4 klausimai, kiekvienam klausimui po 20 sekundžių. Matysite savo ekranuose, bus 3 variantai. Taip, po 3 variantus kiekviename. Jums reikės atsakyti, kaip gerai pažįstate ligas. Kaip manote, kuri lyga pavaizduota paveikslėlį ir panašiai. Įdėmiai perskaitysite, turėsite laiko. Na, pasiekime 300 ir pradėsime jau turbūt agroviziją. Šokas, kvizas, taip. Dar jūsų 10. Didžioji dauguma bus. Still waiting to 300, okay? Because we have like 500 here, so. Taip, prizas bus, sugalvosim. BASF visada apdovanoja jūs. Taip. Na, dar 7. Tam, ponė kampe, mažiau kalbėkit. Prašau prisijungti. Taip. 3. Na, 2. 1. Ir, na, kas čia dabar pasitraukė? Greitai atgal. Kur iš čia? Norit kavos pertraukėlės ar ne? Pietų neduosim? Kas čia daros? Where is my phone? Where is my phone? Ok, viskas, gerai, pradedam. Aš skaičiuoju iki 5 ir pradedam. 20 sekundžių kiekvienam. Įdėmiai perskaitykite, neskubėkite, važiuojam. Kuri lyga pavaizduota paveikslėlėje, pasirinkite vieną variantą. Askochitozė, lapų septoriozė, pavasarinis pelėsis. Taip, ir balsavo, teisingas atsakymas, didžioji dauguma atsakė teisingai. Gerai, daug ką galima sužinoti. Ar jau pasiruošę? 3, 2, 1, važiuojame prie kito klausimo. Vėlgi apie lygą. Ar tai javų tikroji miltlygė, ar tai rudosios rūdys, ar javų netikroji miltlygė? Taip, žiūrim, lieka 5 sekundės. How? Not bad? Not bad? Taip, jūsų atsakymas yra javų tikroji miltlygė, ar tai teisingas atsakymas? Tai yra teisingas atsakymas. Matau, padaugėjo jūsų jau į pabaigą. Gerai, 3 klausimas. Kas čia pavaizduota? Javaklupė, javų rizoktoniozė ar stiebalūžė? Atsiprašau, jeigu netaip kirčiuoju. Taip, matome variantus ir lieka 5 sekundės. Ir ar tai yra stiebalūžė? Taip, yra teisingas. Atsakymas ir 4. Paskutinis, susikaupkime. Vertingas prizas laukia kiekvieną. Ką čia matote? Kviečių dryžligė, rūdis geltonasias ar fiziologinės lapų dėmes. Ir 5 sekundės. And we finish here, and this is wrong answer. This is fiziologinės lapų dėmes.
I'm really sorry. You did very, very well. And until the last one, and that was a tricky one, I have to admit, yeah. If it helps you, we also were quite unsure, and we didn't want to judge on our own. So what we did, we handed, if you switch please, we handed these samples, when we got it, over to our leading experts. And we used 2 experts independently. And here we have again these physiological spots. So one part of the leaf samples we sent to Dr. Speakman. He is a leading mycologist, so he knows all the fungal diseases inside out. And the other part of the sample we sent to our resistance and DNA expert, Dr. Gerd Stammler. So he did the DNA sequencing, and both confirmed there is no disease, there is no fungal infection, it must be physiological spots. And that is a bit, well, surprising because these symptoms look so DTR-alike, but these both experts, they cannot lie and DNR cannot lie. So here we are. That was not an exception. Also in the UK, in France, parts of Eastern Germany and in Slovakia, we saw a lot of these symptoms, especially as this drought kicked in. Yeah? So obviously the drought stress, together with some specific variety reactions, led to these physiological spots. And that tells us once more the power of this DNA analysis, because whenever you are not 100% sure about symptoms, you can go to this technique and you get a reliable answer. And for the first time ever, we established such a sampling late, because the monitoring I showed before was the flag leaf monitoring. A lot of things can happen afterward. Here, we did monitor at growth stage 65 to 79, so quite late. And you can see we identified 10 spots in Poland, but only there, not in any of the Baltic samples. We found a lot of septoria. Okay, for you not so much because you had this drought, and we could not find yellow rust or brown rust. So that is an offer for us. We are happy to intensify this monitoring to get clarity what has caused the leaf spots later on, that you don't come to wrong conclusions. That is for the foliar diseases, and you also did very well with identifying the true eye spot or collimacula. Here, this technique also helps us because it can not only identify the disease, but also whether we have the W type or the R type. So both is common in Baltic states. It's a bit more the W type which occur. And all this information can be used to back up our trial experience and to get more out of the data. And I think with that, it's time to close this little exhaust on our trial data. So we do a lot of trials across Europe year after year to learn how our products work, with the ultimate game to get the best recommendation for you. Our aim is that the products we recommend do work under your conditions. And as there are hundreds of thousands of farmers all across Europe, we have an ambition to come up with nothing less than several thousand trials to ensure that we pre-tested the situation also in your neighborhood. Digital tools help us to get even more out of the data to make the invisible visible, like with the latent infection. And with that, the competence and know-how is growing. And we are trustful that with this progress, we understand best the power of data, and that enables you that what you get from BASF is always the state of the art and does a reliable job. So thank you very much for your attention, and have fun with the rest of the conference.
Taip, pradėkime nuo apačios. Ar galima su fungicidais 100% sukontroliuoti stiebalūžę? Stiebalūžę. Ar galima? Sauliau, gerbiam. Mikrofoną. Taip,
turėtų veikti. Kuris klausimas?
Va čia žiūrėkit, Sauliau, nuo pačios pradedame.
Nuo pačios. Ar galima su fungicidais 100% sukontroliuoti stiebalūžę? Can we control eye spot 100% with the fungicides?
No. Simple no. Honestly, there's quite some variation eye spot control that has two reasons. One is some chemistry is struggling, cyprodeine, for example, but also prothioconazole. There's some adaptation ongoing. And the second thing is timing. You need to be at the right time. And especially if you take Germany, we face the climate gets milder, eye spot starts earlier, and the sprays are coming too late.
Okay, and why do I need to care about disease at all if I can't see it?
You remember the example I've shown with this extra yield, even if the disease was only 2%. You can ignore the extra yield. It's your choice. Yeah? We found this, and the risk is always if the disease is in, like you got an effect, so either you are a strong character and it doesn't break out, then you are happy, and the plants are happy as well, but mostly this will break out later, and then it costs really much yield.
Sauliau, šitas mane prateskite. Is it true to think that all the plants need spa?
It's not spa. They need, you know, with the liquid which we apply on the plants, it needs to be like washed over, you know, all over. Yeah. Not only parts of the plants needs to be covered with the fungicide when we apply it, but all the plant needs to be covered.
That is also a very interesting observation, and normally you should treat the plant holistically, which is hardly possible. The good thing is that fungicides are systemic, most of them at least. There are differences. That means one single spray droplet per leaf is sufficient to protect the whole leaf, at least in the case of Revysol.
Yeah, and this is a very good remark from your side. Some of them are systemic, not all.
Taip, apie fiziologinės dėmes, kaip jos atsiranda?
How the physiological spots pop up.
Yeah, that is a very good question, and it is variety specific. So some varieties tend to do it, and when they come to stress. So with stress, strange thing happens, and here these spots can develop. So it's a drought stress reaction.
Yeah.
Taip, ar galite paneigti mitą, kad negalima purkšti ant rasos?
Yeah, can we be the, mythos that we cannot apply the herbicide, whatever crop protection products when we still have, this, what they call, kaip rasa?
Rasa.
Oh, kaip rasa angliškai, pamiršau. Dew on the plants.
Yeah, there is a long-going discussion, is it good or bad to have dew? Some smart farmers, they say, well, if there's dew, I can reduce the water. Can happen, yeah. But they can also be washed away. So that's a critical one. Yeah. The good news is that with Revysol you can reduce water even without the dew. Yeah? And the dew can be a false friend. But yeah, in general it helps the wetting property, but it can be leading to runoff.
And what are recommendation of quantity of water?
What the volumes we recommend for the fungicides to use it?
So our labels for these 100 to 300, which gives you flexibility. I'm very honest with you. It's striking how good results we have with 100 liters only. Farmers, I can understand, are a bit hesitant, but it's really, I think you should try it out. Important is that you use anti-drift nozzles, which again make a coarse spray pattern, and then it goes back to systemicity. Yeah. Thanks ours, we have it, and then 100 liter is really feasible, and try it out.
Sufficient volume.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Taip, ant rano galo mes turime, jeigu Lietuvoje nėra DTR, ar čia angliškas DTR, kodėl kai kuriais atvejais Revysol paremti sprendimai veikia kur kas blogiau?
If we don't have the DTR in Lithuania, why in some points, Revysol solutions are not working that good against these spots which we see?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that there is no DTR at all. So probably sometimes transport can play a role. We saw the dots in Poland. And, well, nobody is perfect. Revysol is an amazing fungicide, but can it control 100%? No fungicide can do it. Yeah? So that's what we can say here, and that's also why we don't sell Revysol as a solo. Okay, there's resistance management, but for sure there is a kind of a better profile if we mix it with Xemium or mix it with pyraclostrobin. Yeah, there's a reason to it.
Apie pH, taip.
What the pH of water would you recommend when we apply the fungicides?
Yeah. So we don't have any specific limitation which makes us different to others, where the metabolism can be endangered. So we have no clear limitation here.
That one, nice.
But this applies only to BASF products. Yeah.
Tas geras.
Yeah.
Where will be after party?
because not every day we can have opportunity to talk with those legends from BASF. Thanks in advance. Big letters.
We will have coffee break and lunch, so we will have plenty of time. Okay, one more question. Dar vienas klausimas jūsų. Ačiū, kad siunčiate. Drąsiai rašykite, dar kelios minutės. Pagal ką atsirenkate bandymų vietas? Lietuvoje matosi tik viena vieta. Ar tikrai įvertinama kokybiškai?
Yeah. When we choose the trial places, how we do this according what we are choosing, and in the map, people saw only one place for Lithuania for the trials.
Well, for that I try to explain, apologize for the map painting. There were 149 dots missing for the Baltics. And we choose our locations with two parameters. One, to ensure to get disease, because we need a high success quota, reliable results. That can be a bit artificial, because here we work with susceptible varieties. We do work even with sometimes with inoculation, which is not practical relevant. Therefore, it's important that we also have the other part of trials, where we go to practical fields and go to the robust varieties the farmers are drilling, and then, in the end, both results need to be matched.
And I see one in English, but I have to tell, how about distance and protection zone near to the water places when you use Revysol? So in the next slide, we will answer with Paulus on this question, according to the product registration in Lithuania.
So that depends indeed on the country rules. There is no specific aquatoxicity with Revysol, in contrary to other compounds, and then the normal rules do apply, and you know it much better in Lithuania than I.
Taip, apie naujienas iš BASF mes su Sauliumi dar tikrai pakalbėsime. Thank you indeed, Dieter, for your speech, and see you in after party, just in a couple of minutes, with coffee.
Good.
Thank you, paplokite mūsų svečiui.
You're welcome.
Ačiū, Sauliau.
Ačiū.